Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a bunch of new stories for you. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you, and let's start with the first story right away.
Story 1. My dad disowned my sister and he is dying. How do I convince her to let him go? Posted by you/thrower_dadisowned. Backstory: my family used to be really close, but that changed in 2003 when my dad, 55M, discovered that my mom, 54F, was having an affair with John, 54M, my dad's childhood best friend. He was basically his brother back then, and he was my dad's best man in his wedding with mom. He begged her to stay and work things out, but my mom ended up leaving him for John. Eventually, they got a divorce, and my mom ended up marrying John 5 months later. My twin sister Sarah, 27F, was always the stereotypical daddy's girl. Dad spoiled her a bit more than the rest of us, and she was basically his shadow back then. That's why it was really surprising to us that Sarah chose to stay with our mom after the divorce. Back then, me, 27M, and she were the only ones still living with our parents. We have 4 other brothers. I chose to stay with Dad, and Sarah chose to live with Mom. On the weekends, she came to stay with me and Dad. I chose to stay with Dad, and I occasionally went to Mom's house. To say that the divorce and my sister choosing to stay with Mom messed up my dad is an understatement. He tried to act like he was okay in front of us, but every single weekday for the year following the divorce, I could hear him cry himself to sleep. After the divorce, the relationship between Sarah and Dad didn't change that much. He started to spoil her a bit more than usual and still remained the usual super dad, showing up at every parent-teacher conference, ballet recital, and soccer match, and being the most present dad possible. Things started to change when she suddenly changed her mind about med school. Our dad is a surgeon, and she always said that she wanted to follow in his footsteps, but Mom and John ended up pressuring her to change her career path to become a lawyer. Mom and John are both lawyers. During her studies, John started mentoring her, and they became really close. After she finished her education, he got her a job at his law firm. On to the issue: in 2017, Sarah got married. My dad was absolutely thrilled about her wedding. He gave Sarah a blank check for her dream wedding. To be fair, he did this for all of us. He really likes weddings, but in Sarah's case, he was really excited because she is his only daughter. I always remembered him talking about walking her down the aisle. Like every wedding that we went to, he always said to her that he couldn't wait for the day to walk his little girl down the aisle. One day before the wedding, Sarah dropped the bomb that Dad and John would be walking her down the aisle together. Well, Dad is the most non-confrontational person to walk on this earth, and she expected him to just suck it up. He didn't do that. They got into a huge fight. First time I saw him get angry, and in the end, he didn't attend the wedding, and John ended up walking Sarah down the aisle. The fallout was massive. After the wedding, Dad and his side of our family basically disowned her, and their relationship became non-existent. She tried to reach out after a while and make amends several times, but he simply didn't want to talk or hear about her. We expected him to turn around when she gave birth in 2018, but he doesn't even want to meet her kids. Earlier this year, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Unfortunately, the treatment didn't work, and he is terminal. Even with that, he still doesn't want to see her again, and she doesn't understand that. I am very close to my dad, and these last few weeks have been really difficult for me. How do I convince her to let him go? Top/relevant comments. Commenter: was Sarah 10 years old in 2003 when she went to live with your mother? Did Sarah give a reason for why she included John to walk her down the aisle? Ops response: yes, she was. Apparently, it was my mom's idea, and my sister accepted because John has done so much for me, which I honestly don't understand. My dad paid for her whole education. When we moved to another city to go to college, my dad spent hours talking to her on the phone every week, and he used to travel every 15 days to see us, a 3-hour flight, by the way. Op to another commenter: she has been trying to reach out since the wedding. The problem is, she knows that she messed up really bad, and the regret of this whole thing is eating her alive. I was talking to my brother-in-law today, and he told me that she barely sleeps, practically doesn't eat. I really don't know what to do here. Commenter 2: I'm sorry you have to deal with all of this. It's a very tragic story. What are your brother's positions in all of this? Your sister should have known that everything she did would push him very far away. Not choosing him, accepting that check, and dropping the bomb a day before is obviously the worst bit. I am sorry for her, but her actions had deep consequences, and she'll have to live with them. I would take your dad's phone and block her if that's how she's trying to make contact, and then have a coffee with your sister, explaining that your dad doesn't need this kind of stress, of being reminded of a child that betrayed him and disowned him first. Finally, in case you think they could still make amends, and if she hasn't tried this already, perhaps a letter from her would be accepted. Ops response: all of my brothers understand both sides. They know how sorry she is and how much this regret is eating her alive. They know how much that whole thing hurt my dad. The thing is, if Dad had more time, he would probably make amends with her, but the thing is, he really doesn't. And that sucks so effing bad. Up to another commenter. Oh, I really don't think he is possessive over her. I really don't think he judged her for staying with Mom. He was just sad he doesn't get to see her more often. They were together since they were 12 and 13 years old, you know? The divorce was really rough on him. She has been trying to talk to him since that day. They haven't seen each other since the wedding. The thing is, if he did have a bit more time, I think he would end up forgiving her because she is really sorry, but he simply doesn't have that much time. Update 6 weeks later. Some people asked for an update. Unfortunately, life isn't all about happy endings. This is a sad ending. A week after I posted the original post, my dad started getting worse. His health started declining really fast. We lost him exactly 1 month ago. It wasn't pretty, I never thought it would be, but I never thought it would be that heartbreaking. He was in a lot of pain. He had been through so much in these last months. As heartbreaking as it was for us, he deserved to rest, he was tired. In the end, he was lucid enough to say his goodbyes to me and my older brothers. Hearing him say what he said to me was one of the most painful and beautiful moments of my life. His words to me meant a lot. I won't say exactly what he said because I believe that it's just too personal. He said goodbye to my daughters, 11 months old and 2 years old. It was just like when I was a kid. He gave them a kiss on the forehead, told them to be good girls, and said that he loved them. It was something I won't ever forget, and it hurts like hell that they are so young to understand what happened. They still ask about Grandpa, and every time I try to explain to them that he isn't coming back, they don't seem to understand that, and how can I blame them? I'm only 27 years old, I honestly don't get it. I was supposed to get a lot more years with my dad. It doesn't seem fair at all. The worst part was my twin sister Sarah. Dad died without speaking to her. I tried to talk to him about her, but he wasn't interested in speaking with her. She started getting more desperate, and suddenly he died. It was expected, but she was in denial. His funeral was beautiful. A lot of people shared their stories about him. It was nice. Sarah saw Dad for the first time since the night before her wedding. She didn't recognize him. He was very skinny. Dad was always a bit overweight, the famous dad bod, but he had lost a lot of weight from cancer. She cried a lot during the whole funeral. Mom and John tried to show up at the ceremony, and my uncles were forced to kick them out of the funeral. Good effing riddance. Dad's will went as expected as it could. Dad's family came from old money, petrochemicals, so he always had a lot of money. He left a little bit of money and properties divided equally to all his kids, including Sarah. He left a trust fund, which was a lot of money, for all his grandkids, including Sarah's kids, which he never met. It was honestly expected. My dad never really cared about money that much. He just wanted us to be comfortable and assured that his grandkids all had something to support them. The tricky part was the personal things. He left a really big letter to all of us, except Sarah. It was really personal stuff. In my letter, he spoke to me about our story, about my childhood. It was really nice. I must have read the letter like 100 times, and I cried every single time. One of Dad's favorite hobbies was photography. He was quite an enthusiast, and the subject of his photos was pretty much our family. When he and Mom were together, later it turned out to be just me and my siblings. As a result of this, we had a lot of pictures from us growing up. He gave each of us a photo album, and behind each photo, he wrote something, where it was taken in a few words. I was honestly very surprised with this. He must have done this long before he died. It was a very thoughtful goodbye gift, something that was very typical of Dad. Sarah didn't get a letter, and her album didn't have anything written behind her photos. When she found out about this, she had a mental breakdown. The regret was eating her alive, still is. She was admitted to a hospital and spent an entire week there. She is doing a bit better now, getting a little better every day. Her husband and I are really confident in her recovery. She is sleeping and eating almost normally now. She still starts to cry randomly multiple times on a daily basis, but it's getting better. At least that's what I am telling myself. Which brings us to last week. My wife and I discovered that we are expecting again. It wasn't planned or anything like that. My wife switched birth controls last month, and she spent a week without taking the pill. It is still very early in her pregnancy, so we haven't told anyone yet. The thing is that I'm really angry. I'm angry that my future kid is not going to be able to meet Dad. I'm effing pissed, honestly. It doesn't seem fair at all. I'm angry, and I'm scared. My dad was supposed to guide me in the whole parenthood process. He was teaching me a lot of things with my daughters. I'm effing scared of doing this without him. I'm scared of not being a good father like he was to me because my kids deserve that. This is it, folks. This whole situation could be a lot better. I play the what if scenario in my head every day. Unfortunately, it doesn't change anything. This is honestly a bitter ending. Doesn't seem fair at all. But that's the thing about life, it's actually never fair. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice and to everyone who reached out and offered their support in the chat. I was very lonely at that time, still am, haha, F this year honestly. It meant a lot to me. Thank you, Reddit. /relevant comments. Commenter. This whole situation is sad. Ops response. It really is. Commenter 2. Wow, the sheer arrogance it took for your mom and stepdad to show up at your dad's funeral is hard to fathom. What did they think was going to happen? Oh hey everyone, everybody knows we betrayed and caused more pain to this man than even his cancer, but hey, we wanted to be here and give our condolences to our former husband and best friend. I'm sorry your twin sister didn't get to make amends with your dad, but what was she thinking when she wanted the man who caused the destruction of her parents' marriage to walk her down the aisle with her dad? Choices have consequences, and she is dealing with them now. What is your sister's relationship like with you and your brothers? Or the rest of the family? Ops response. We are all very close. I am particularly close with her because, well, we are twins, shared a womb and stuff. But our older brothers love her, and she loves them as well. She was always a bit spoiled by them, the privilege of being the only girl in the family. Downvoted commenter 3. Are you sure who your sister's biological dad is? Ops response. I mean, I'm definitely dad's son, and I shared a womb with Sarah. I also have the same eye color as dad, blue, I also have the same hair color as dad, blonde, and the same height. But most importantly, I am also pale as F, while John is very black. He is 100% not my father. Downvoted commenter 4. I'm sorry to say that, but your dad doesn't seem like a good person. He expected praise from your sister, who was manipulated and raised by your mother, who probably told her a completely different story about her relationship with John. Probably something about true love, and seeing how your father never said anything, this only strengthened your mom's version. Never explaining or talking to your daughter, but then expecting her to know exactly what happened, is just a jerk move. He wasn't about forgiveness. He wanted her to hurt her whole life and punish her for something her mother was responsible for. This is such a cruel move. Ops response. She knew the whole story, our parents' divorce was as civil as possible, but she knew about the whole thing, it's not like it was a family secret or anything like that. My older brothers and I told her before the wedding that this was a bad move, that she was pouring salt on dad's wound, she didn't listen. Commenter 5. So at no point do we find out why she did what she did? Commenter 6. Nothing concrete, no. Reading between the lines, I have my own interpretation. Ops says that Sarah was pressured into becoming a lawyer, as well as that Sarah is easygoing, and that she expected her father to also be easygoing when it came to the wedding. What I imagine is that Sarah values peace over drama, and like many peacemakers, views the people who disrupt the peace and don't take things lying down as the ones making the problems, instead of the people stirring crap, in this case, her mother and stepfather. Her father was always the one making allowances for how she was being put in the middle, and she came to take that for granted instead of recognizing that the people making her life harder were the ones in the wrong. And she views herself as innocent because she is not the one pushing these choices, even though she is the one accepting them. Conflict avoidance is a character flaw. Story 2. I hooked up with an older lady from the bar for money, and I hate myself. Posted by u/1_metalbat_man. So this has been happening for over a month now, but the gravity of the situation just hit me today. So I, 31M, am not in a great place in life right now. I was doing great in my mid-20s, but alcohol and gambling have turned my life into living check to check. I work 2 jobs, I'm single, have no kids, but I'm still in a hole of debt. I did save quite a bit of money into retirement funds in my younger years, and perhaps I'll have to take a loan out against it soon to delete other debt, but not yet. I frequent a bar that's across the street from my apartment. Most of the regulars are now friends or at least familiar acquaintances, from as young as 21 to as old as 75. One of my good friends, Lynn, who's a regular at this bar, is in her 50s, and she's beautiful, especially for her age. Literally any guy at the bar would take her home if she ever let them. Lynn lives close to me, and I've started hanging out with her outside the bar. It's always a fun time when it's just me and her, but some of her friends are a bit much. Most of her friends are older, single women who like to drink heavily and live loud. One friend in particular, Barb, clearly took a liking to me the first time Lynn introduced us. She was rather upfront about how attracted she is to me, but she's older than my mom, and I'm not attracted to her in the least. Barb apparently also lives close by Lynn and me, and she started to go to the bar and always sat next to me. It was nice at first, and she always bought me a drink or two, but she really started to become a buzzkill, especially because I couldn't hang out with Lynn without Barb being there too, and I missed it being just Lynn and me. Now don't get me wrong, Barb is actually pretty hilarious and a fun time, but just knowing how badly she wanted to sleep with me always made me feel a little awkward. Especially because I had a crush on her friend. So about 3 weeks ago, Barb texted me and asked if I could help hang up Christmas lights in her apartment. She said I could drink and eat anything at her place if I helped her. I was a little drunk at the bar when she texted me, and had just gambled away the rest of my cash, so I obliged. Barb lives in a building that just opened up this year, and I had been in it to visit a friend before. Very upscale apartments, great views, brand new. However, what I didn't know about this place is that they had some crazy condos in that building. So I got to the top floor, and her place is huge. Everything was so nice, the ceiling was so high, there were stairs that led up to her bedroom. So I told her how amazing her place is, and she immediately spilled out her life story. This was a bit weird, because for as long as I'd known her, she never really opened up about herself much. Anyway, nasty divorce. Still in court with her ex-husband. One daughter talks to her, the other doesn't. She's sexually starved. That one hung in the air for a bit. I listened to her, told her how sorry I felt for her, helped myself to a few beers, and began hanging Christmas lights in her windows. She has tons of tall windows, so it was taking a while, but we were laughing and having a good time. And getting drunk. For 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, I was irresponsibly drunk. I still don't know why I did this, but she asked if I wanted to take a shower with her. And I did. Didn't even have clean clothes to change into. So anyway, we were showering, and I wasn't impressed with her naked body, but for whatever reason I got excited down there. And she immediately grabbed my thing and started feeling it. I told her that she can touch it, but I don't want to have sex with her. We went to lay down in her enormous bed. Actually, her whole room is huge. Her place is amazing. So we were watching Young Sheldon or something, and she flat out asked me, "What would it take to get you to lick my PC?" And for some reason, in my drunken stupor, I immediately responded, $200 and a frozen pizza. She looked at me with a dead serious face and said, "I'll give you $400 if you make me CM. Oh crap. She pulled up her nightgown and... yeah. I got $400. I actually really needed that money, so the disgust was just sitting in the back of my mind, and I was able to ignore it for the most part. A week later, I got a text from Barb asking me to come over. Once again, I was at the bar drunk and broke from gambling, so I walked over. When I got there, she asked if I wanted to have sex. I told her that I don't have sex without condoms, and she reassured me that she can't get pregnant. I told her that it didn't matter, I always wear a condom. She respected that, and then asked if I could eat her out in exchange for a BJ. Awkward. I asked her if I could get paid like the last time, and she apologized and claimed she only paid me because she was so drunk and horny. We discussed the previous night for a while, and she ultimately offered me $50. I haggled the price up to $75. The whole conversation was so long, uncomfortable, and awkward, I can hardly type this brief summary. I went to the bar that Friday, and Lynn was there. It was the first time in a while I had hung out with her without Barb being there, and it was great. I mentioned that I helped Barb hang up Christmas lights and was really impressed by her condo. That is when Lynn revealed something that raised my eyebrows. Barb is rich. Like multi-million-dollar rich. Like her ex-husband was rich. Like she and her brother inherited land from their family, and they just sold it for an enormous amount of riches. I knew she had to be fairly wealthy based on her place, car, and clothes. Then Lynn showed me pictures of Barb's house that she owns on the other side of the state, and holy effing crap, this woman's loaded. I went to the bar all night for the next few days, waiting for Barb to show up and checking my phone constantly, waiting for Barb to ask me to come over. However, I actually won a hefty amount on the gamble machines and was able to maintain for a while. So when Barb did hit me up to come over, I told her I was busy. Of course, when you gamble, your winnings only last a few days, and I was broke, drunk, and high by myself in no time. Then Barb hit me up again. It had been over a week, and she said she wanted to make a deal with me. So I stumbled over to her place, and when I walked into her door, all the lights were off except the Christmas lights, and she was naked. Barb said, "I need you inside of me, what will it take?" And good lord, was it cringy as hell. Now, this may be a good place to mention that I don't know crap about prostitution. I don't know what normal rates are. I don't know what boundaries I'm supposed to have. Completely ignorant. But I knew Barb had millions. Anyway, I asked for $1,500. She laughed. She said I'd have to last a long time for $1,500. Cringe. She offered me $500 and I wasn't allowed to wear a condom. I didn't understand that part. Do women feel that much of a difference if a condom is or isn't being worn? Why did that matter to her? I got her to agree to $800, with $1,500 being the price moving forward. I don't want to talk much about the segs, but she was very satisfied. So much so that she asked me to come over the next day for the agreed price. Then 2 days later she asked for a full service, with a back massage, oral, and an hour in bed. I asked for $5,000 just for craps and giggles, but she effing agreed. All of a sudden, I had made over $7,000 in the past few days. I paid rent in cash, bought groceries, got my car fixed, and purchased all the Christmas presents. And a welcome side effect of the constant hooking up was that I was gambling less and spending less money on booze. I felt good. Really was starting to accept the situation. I went to the bar in a great mood. Lots of my friends were there. Played some pool, smoked a joint in the alley. Great stuff. Then Barb came in. She made her way around the bar, saying hi to everyone. Then sat right next to me and kissed me on the cheek. I'm stunned. My friends, who I was talking to, both dropped their jaws slightly. She joined in our conversation, and I felt my face getting red and hot. My heart was blasting through my chest. After a short while, I announced I had to go home, and Barb asked, "Will I see you later?" "I don't know, hit me up," was my response as I got out of there. This happened just 4 days ago, and I haven't been back to the bar since. I know that my friends know, or at least strongly suspect, that I've been hooking up with Barb. But one comforting thought came into my head: they'll understand when I tell them I only effed her for her money. Then a cold realization flooded my brain. It will make it so much worse if they find out that I've been having sex for money. I'm actually a WHRE. An alcoholic, gambling addicted WHRE. Now I think I'm just going to have to pretend I got drunk and hooked up with her for fun. This is the heaviest guilt and most insecure secret I've ever held. I'm actually a piece of crap and I hate myself. I really effed up. If I just drank less and didn't gamble, I would never have gotten myself into this mess, but this is what my life's become. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I would be more concerned about the gambling addiction and alcoholism, for sure. Commenter 2. Yeah, becoming Barb's personal gigolo seems more like a symptom of the addictions, not the actual screw up here. Op, you should probably take a good, hard look at how you're living. Commenter 3. I mean, this guy isn't going to get a better financial opportunity than this. He should work on quitting the drinking, and if you gotta gamble, learn how to play poker. Never gamble versus a machine or the house, you will not win long term. Only gamble versus people, because people that gamble are generally idiots. Also, tap the F out of that old lady for as long as you can. You could literally change your entire life with the fortune you could make. Easy, but shameful, money, just own up to it with your friends. Embrace the shame, we're all WHREs for something. Commenter 4. So assuming this is true, which I don't think it is, I think it's a creative writing exercise. You tell your friends, yeah, I got really drunk and hooked up with her, I didn't want to be mean to her when she came up to me in the pub. I'm going to let her down gently, I don't want to be a jerk, but I'm going to tell her that it was a one-time thing. Then you go tell Barb, this isn't a relationship, don't start acting like you're my girlfriend in public or we'll have to be over. This is not an insurmountable issue unless you let it be one. Update 1 year later. About a year ago, I made a brief post about how I began performing sexual favors for money while suffering from alcoholism and gambling addiction. Many of you seem to enjoy my story, and some of your comments changed the way I approached and felt about my situation. Therefore, I thought an update would be appropriate, though it is quite a late update. I didn't see or hear from Barb for about a month after our awkward run-in at the bar, which incidentally spawned the original post in the first place. I started imagining that she was paying someone else for sex. Turns out she was visiting her brother in Arizona for a few weeks. During the time I hadn't heard from or seen Barb, I did not bring up anything to my friends who witnessed our previous bar interaction. When I made the original post, my biggest concern was how my friends would react to my situation with Barb. In all actuality, nobody brought it up to me, and I certainly didn't bring it up either. I think they had their suspicions, but nobody treated me differently, and it was easier for me to cope with the scope of the situation. Barb hit me up one night, January of last year, explained where she had been, and asked if I could help take down her Christmas lights. I came over, and to my surprise, she actually just wanted her Christmas lights taken down. I explained my actions for running away at the bar, and she said that after I left she told my friends that she was joking and that she felt bad for making me uncomfortable. Apparently, they thought I was being a spaz. I asked Barb to keep things on the DL in public, but she told me that she didn't want to move forward with our previous agreement. She said she got too caught up in the heat and pleasure, and ended up doing things she now feels uneasy about. She said we could still hook up for fun, but she did not want to continue paying for sex. It made her feel filthy. I didn't have any interest in a friends with benefits situation because I'm not attracted to her, but I didn't tell her that. I expressed to her that I am willing to remain friends, but that I'm only interested in sex with girls I'm pursuing for a relationship. I told her that I've only recently found out that I apparently make an exception for money. I also added that if she changes her mind, and if I'm single, I'd be down to do it again. This, in particular, was a response I made to Barb thanks to some of the opinions I read in the comments of my previous post. Some of you encouraged me to get that bag. At the time, I had been participating in a, mostly, dry January with some friends. So I was clear-headed and separated from gambling opportunities. It was nice. I also made a major career shift, which resulted in less pay, but now I only work one job, and the work-related stress is practically non-existent. I still drink a lot, but socially. I still gamble, but much less frequently and at much lower amounts. Barb hit me up once in February and once in March for my services. Now we see each other at the bar every once in a while. We smile at each other, we talk, and we laugh. But I think we're both past that part of our lives. Things have been going truly well for me, and at the age of 33, I feel very positive. I'm not exactly where I want to be or where I could have been had I made better choices the past few years. But I am happy with who I am, how I treat others, and where my future is headed. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Well done. I hope you can further reduce the gambling and drinking. Commenter 2. Funny. My reaction is Op is still willing to be a hooker when called upon, still drinking, still gambling, and for the moment he's just keeping a tight enough lid on it, so the habits aren't entirely self-destructive. Dude is hopping around on one leg near a cliff on a breezy day, and the only comments I see are OMG I'm so happy to read you've changed so much and are doing so well. Op's response. This is a whole year later, and I'm doing much better. I smile more, have my credit card paid off, I enjoy going to work, and I work out. My life is so much better than it was last year. I still have my vices, but they aren't debilitating me anymore. Commenter 3. Keeping a tight enough lid on habits to keep them from being self-destructive is pretty much exactly what everything in moderation means, right? Do you think that in order to be proud of something it must be perfect? What does that attitude do to your mental health? Commenter 4. To me, the op just reads as, I'm mostly still doing all the crap I've always done, and it's a big game of Russian roulette whether it spirals out of control every day, so much more than, I feel like I got a handle on these things, and I'm in the driver's seat as it relates to my relationship with gambling and alcohol. And I hope I am wrong and the jerk for that interpretation. But I'm surprised the initial reaction of others is that this sounds like an update from someone who isn't one bad day from being at square one. Op's response. I don't think this is an unfair interpretation. At the time of my last post, I had just left an abusive relationship, put down my dog, and absolutely hated my jobs. These were the major factors that led to my behavior being so destructive. I feel like anyone can spiral out of control in the perfectly disastrous situation. I'm hoping I will handle things better now if such a dark cloud comes my way. Commenter 5. Is that the dog in the videos on your account? Why did you have to put it down? Op's response. For some reason, after I got him fixed, he became a very aggressive dog. He mangled a dog at the dog park and bit a child. I tried to get him hardcore behavioral training, but everyone refused after hearing he bit a child. I tried to send him to a sanctuary, but they recommended I put him down. It was devastating, and many people, including on Reddit, called me a dog murderer and made Kristi Noem-related insults towards me. Story 3.
AITA for grounding my stepdaughter over her prank? Posted by you/hot pepper throwaway. I, 29F, married my stepdaughters, 17F, father, 40M, 3 years ago. Ever since day one, I've struggled to connect with her. She's always been the only girl in her father's life, as her mother passed away when she was young. Needless to say, she had a hard time when her father got a girlfriend, and then a new wife. I've tried where I could, but for the past 5 years total of our relationship, I've been subjected to a lot of anger and disrespect, and she gets even more resentful if her father takes my side. I tried to find a fun bonding activity, under my husband's request, and so this morning I took her to a specialty hot sauce store, because she loves spicy food and pretends to be some expert. I hate spicy food, and I have cracks in my tongue. But I figured she could mostly enjoy this herself, and I would watch her taste. We each picked a sauce for tasting. She said mine was terrible because it was the most mild they had, and it was too sweet. She even laughed at me for being a baby. She then tasted hers, and seemed absolutely unaffected. She said she picked one that wasn't spicy at all, and that it had really good flavors in it. After a lot of pressuring from her, particularly about how I was supposed to be bonding with her, I made the mistake and tried it. Turns out, the sauce had the spiciest pepper, Carolina Reaper in it, and was one of the spiciest available for tasting. I was in so much pain I thought I was going to die. She laughed at me while the clerk in the store brought me something to help with the pain. It was absolutely terrible. He said he himself couldn't believe that my stepdaughter found this sauce not spicy, and she must be faking. When we were back in the car, I told her on the spot she had no phone, TV, or computer for anything not school related for the next 2 weeks, because she clearly did this to hurt me. She screamed at me in the car about how I'm not her mother, I was gaslighting and villainizing her, and that she wished I wasn't in her life. I told her that if she thought I didn't have the authority to parent her, then fine. I'll just let her father punish her. She started the waterworks as soon as she entered the house, and surprisingly my husband flipped on me, saying that my expectations of spicy were unrealistic, and that I couldn't prove that she really did it on purpose. Even when I took her electronics, My husband gave them back to her, telling me that I'm harsh and unfair. Her daughter made several snide remarks, which he usually stops, but this time, he said she was justified. I told him that in this case, he was justified sleeping on the couch tonight. Am I the jerk for grounding my stepdaughter over her prank? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I'm debating between everyone sucks here and you're the jerk. Maybe she genuinely thought it wasn't spicy and didn't know how you'd react. It's hard to say. But her laughing at your reaction was inappropriate, but also, she's 17. You said that you grounded her because she clearly did this to hurt me, but there's no evidence of that. Again, she could have genuinely thought it wasn't spicy, but you just assumed she was being malicious. So, instead of talking to her about it, you immediately grounded her. My final verdict is you're the jerk. You punished your stepdaughter without due process. You should have been the adult and talked to her instead of treating her like a child. Commenter 2. Not the jerk, and you and your husband need to work on being a team before this divide grows. Him dismantling your punishment and undermining your authority is a huge problem. He's a jerk, and so is your stepdaughter, who obviously knew what she was doing in the spicy store. Commenter 3. You are the jerk, and your husband is too, for having you ground her for any reason at all. My son has a stepfather, and although he loves my son as his own and vice versa, it is my place to do the grounding. It makes sense why you have a bad relationship, and you are definitely making it worse, not better. My husband, of course, will step in if my son mouths off or something, but the overall punishments and grounding definitely should not be your place. Where is your husband, and why is he letting you be in charge of punishing his kid? If you want a better relationship with your stepchild, especially one that's almost of age and not that much younger than you, I would tone down control and tone up the friendship. I would hate you too if I was a teenager and some chick a decade older than me showed up and started grounding me, for God's sake. Take it down a notch. Ops response. Usually, I let my husband deal with it when she mouths off or shows disrespect. But in this instance, she went out of her way to physically harm me. That's sociopathic behavior. Commenter 4. You are the jerk, and part of me thinks you made up details of this story. You obviously have your own not-so-positive thoughts, just based on some comments you made in the post. Also, it doesn't sound like her father gave you any authority whatsoever to punish her or take her stuff away. Ops response. She went out of her way to physically harm me. Who knows what she'd do next, if she's starting this. Commenter 5. Why on earth did you decide to bond with her over something that you can't stand to the point of actual pain? This would have never happened had the bonding place been well selected, and you're the one who made that call, not her. Ops response. Husband's idea. He said I could just go and watch. I feel set up by him and her. Commenter 6. Not the jerk. But why are you still there? Obviously it'll never get better. And since she decided to pull a prank she knew could hurt you, and she knew her dad would take her side, why stay? You'll never be respected by either of them, it sounds. Ops response. He normally does take my side, but for some reason this time he was really angry. Editor's note, updates 1 to 6 were edited into the main post, so it is unknown how much time elapsed between each update. Update. Husband came into the room and said he wanted to discuss with me. He looked guilty, and I thought it was for the yelling. Sure enough, he and stepdaughter thought it would be a fun prank, and just believed I was being a baby over the spice. He then saw how angry I was with his daughter and got mad because she wasn't all to blame, but decided to just invalidate me rather than just come clean and tell the truth. It backfired big time. He did apologize, but I'm just so hurt. I'm now at a friend's house. I'm still shaking, I'm so mad. To specify, my husband had a large part in this. He actually is the one who gave me the idea of the store, obviously, and gave me a huge lecture about how I should just go and let her have fun, and just try the least spicy. He said he thought that if I could laugh at myself a bit, his daughter would bond with me. I feel so angry and betrayed. I've come to realize that maybe he's a larger portion of the problem than the stepdaughter. He's blowing up my phone now, non-apologizing by claiming he didn't realize I'd get so emotional over it. I think they've won. Second update. He's now magically gone 180. I finally sent him a text saying that I was not coming home for a couple of days. I felt manipulated by both of them. I'd been guilt-tripped into this activity, and did not think I could handle being in a relationship where this is going on. He then said, I crap you not, that his daughter misled him into thinking this was a good thing for bonding, and that he'd reinstate her punishment if I came home. Honestly? I'm disgusted by that. I'm still certain stepdaughter has her own issues with me, but I cannot believe he's so quick to use his child as a bartering chip for our marriage. It makes me think that he knew we wouldn't get along, even if he assured me it would get better, and that he's really orchestrating a lot of the chaos in my life. I made sure he knew how grossly unappealing that was. I also sent stepdaughter a text, telling her that I was sorry for reacting harshly, but I thought it was all on her, and that was wrong. I also apologized for her being in the middle of this, but I still said that I was hurt by her part in it, because at the least, I've always wanted a friendly relationship with her. I was left on red, and don't intend on contacting her again. I just feel bad because I don't know how many other times she's been weaponized by her father. Third update. I'm having a spa day with my friend tomorrow, staying at her house now, and then after, I'm contacting a divorce lawyer. What he's doing is, anytime we get in an argument, he's giving stepdaughter ideas to make my life hell. He pretends to be calm and okay to my face, but then he finds a way to get me back. I'm over this. I'll also be taking my things tomorrow, but I'll make sure I'm accompanied by a male friend, so that I feel safe. Fourth update. I received a text back from stepdaughter this morning asking me to come home. She says I've abandoned her and her father, and that her late mother would never have done that. So now the kid who's been trying to get me out of the house resents me for leaving. I'm like 90% sure that my husband found out I sent stepdaughter a text, and is texting me as her. Needless to say, his panic over my leaving for a couple of days has been overwhelming and eye-opening. I've contacted a divorce lawyer already over email, and hope to be calling later today. For now, I gotta run to the spa. Also, a huge thank you to you/Murbot5 who took the time out of their day of trolling important subs like r/Kanye, and r/Fightporn to call me a little pussy and bitch ass in DMs. I'm sorry you're afraid of the mods, Murbot. Transcription of DMs from you/Murbot5. I hope you get a divorce. So your husband and stepdaughter don't have to deal with your BTCH ass anymore. I can't imagine being such a little pussy. You're pathetic. End of transcription. Fifth update. Wow, this has blown up. I have an update here. Stepdaughter actually, sure enough, was not sending me those texts. I took a small spa session, spoke with a divorce lawyer on the phone, appointment tomorrow, and then went back to the house with a couple of girlfriends and a guy friend. Thank God I did, because he was trying to force me to stay. He even called the police on me and my friends. We explained what was going on, and of course we were fine. I also spoke to stepdaughter. She was mad, of course, but because I apparently told her father that if he took her phone and laptop, I'd come home. My husband was away for a moment, so I finally just went ahead and showed her the texts I got from her, which were sent after she had her punishment reinstated. She was freaked out, to say the least, and told me she hadn't even read the text I sent her. I took the chance to ask her about the car. Sure enough, my husband told her she could use it for the weekend, and then she was told that I changed my mind during her weekend, and then wanted her grounded for not driving it back immediately. I started crying, again. I cannot tell you how terrified I was in that moment. I did take the chance to apologize to her in person, and tell her that I didn't know any of this was going on, and that I'm not going to pretend we've had a bond at all or even a real chance, but that she doesn't deserve any of this. She cried too, and told me some other details of the night before, and that this also wasn't the first relationship that ended similarly, but now she's realizing why, and in 4 months when she's 18 she's going to be gone. I let her know that if she needs some help getting on her feet and out of this situation, let me know. It wouldn't be as a step-parent. Just as some help. I also told her what I told my husband. I'm leaving for good, and I'm filing for divorce. I'm worth way too much to deal with this. Do I feel bad for stepdaughter? Yes. But there's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. At least until she's an adult. Also, thank you for these awards. This is a throwaway, please don't spend money on me. Sixth update. I'm out, staying with a girlfriend now. I'm still shaken up, but I feel so relieved. I feel like a major stress is gone in my life. It'll take a while to get the divorce through, but we have a police report now in which I explained to the police what was going on, since my husband called them. I now have proof. Also, you/Murbot5 is still looking to argue and be nasty. He's informed me here that he's had a ton of fun talking with you guys, and clearly he's lonely, so thank you to the 5 losers who have kept him company for me, and also for everyone's love and support. It means so much to me. Transcription of DMs from you/Murbot5. Mamau. Where did you post this? I've gotten like 5 losers try to come to your defense in my DMs. NBM, I found it. Thanks for posting that. A lot of fun DMs came out of it. End of transcription. Editor's note. I checked you/Murbot5's account, and it has since been banned by Reddit.
Story 4.
AITA for refusing to return a lost pet? Posted by you/PetsTheftThrow. So over 2 years ago, a cat appeared in my yard. He was skinny, skittish, unneutered, and had a serious abscess on his rump, likely from a cat bite wound. I took him to the vet that night and had him treated. The vet estimated he was about 6 months old. I called the local county shelters to file a found cat report. I also posted on Craigslist, posted his info at local vet offices, and kept an eye out for flyers. He was scanned for a microchip and didn't have one. At that point, I didn't intend on keeping him and planned to find him a home when he was healthy. After his abscess healed, he was still limping, and we discovered his hind leg had been fractured and healed poorly. I spent several thousand to fix it, and he just sort of slipped into the family. To recap, I found a sick cat and spent a good chunk to get him healthy. The cat had no ID, and no one responded to my efforts to find the owner. I've now had the cat for almost 2.5 years. Recently, someone contacted me on social media, claiming to be the cat's original owner. The cat has distinctive markings, and he has pictures to back this up. They allowed the cat to free roam and assumed he had been killed when he failed to return home one night. The owner's daughter was very upset by the loss. He wanted the cat back. I refused, on the basis that I've now had the cat longer than the original owner did, and his lack of responsibility in searching for the cat or providing a form of ID. I feel I did my due diligence, and I'm now very attached to the kitty in question. I also worry about his future if I did return him. I've been told by the owner and some of his friends that I'm a giant jerk for disappointing the daughter and stealing the cat. I think they're the jerk for writing their cat off as dead without a search and expecting me to give him up after having him for 2 years. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Not the jerk. I'd keep it. However, you might want to read through this page. I'm no big city animal law lawyer, but did look it up and skim it. Lost pet law. Only skimmed, but sounds like the original owner could fight you for it. You'd have a pretty good leg to stand on, given the shape the cat was in, your efforts to fix it up, the effort you put in to find the owner originally, and the time frame, which might be past the statute of limitations anyways. But no, you're not the jerk. However, keep in mind that just because the cat was in bad shape and the original owner didn't respond to your search doesn't necessarily mean they were bad owners. It may have been missing for months before you found it, during which time they quit looking and it suffered those injuries. Still, I feel it's your cat now. Ops response. I was actually giving the owner the benefit of the doubt when I first found the cat, which is why I put effort into trying to find them. I'm in the rescue community, and I think we often judge owners way too harshly. Like, I may not approve of letting your cat outside unsupervised, but I'd still rather a cat have an indoor/outdoor home than no home at all. I once found a little old dog wandering around. She was shaggy, and her nails were long, and she had bad teeth. Nothing awful, just not ideal. I took her to the shelter to get scanned for a chip, and they insisted I should turn her in because she was clearly abused. Instead, I walked around the neighborhood and found her owners out searching 2 streets over. Turns out she was a bit unkempt because she was 16 and had cancer, so her owners didn't want to stress her with grooming or put her through a risky dental. She was just a little dying old lady spending her last days with her family. I have no doubt that if I had turned her in at the shelter, she would have been dead within an hour, legal or not. Our local shelters are trash. So yeah, I hear ya that even the best pet owner can end up with a missing pet. In my kitty's case, the owner admitted up front that he'd made no effort to look. I'd honestly like to offer to let the daughter have some pics or even visit him, but I don't want this guy knowing where I live. I don't think this guy would try to sue, but I do have proof of the attempts to find him, like emails and fax records. So hopefully that would be useful if he did. Commenter 2. Honestly, don't even offer to let the kid visit. It sounds super harsh, but by doing that, it's a way of validating their claims. If the daughter is upset, it should be because her parents put no effort into finding the cat to begin with. Also, lightly an unethical life pro tip, but if you're in the rescue community, you probably know. Get the cat microchipped. I work at a shelter, and whoever's name is on that chip is the owner, even if they haven't seen the cat in 10 years. Chip the cat. Ops response. Oh, he was chipped the day I decided to stop pretending I was searching for a forever home. Commenter 3. Keep the damn cat. The daughter can't be that sad after 2 years. After you put money into fixing that poor guy, he was yours no matter what. Downvoted commenter 4. The daughter actually can still be sad. The loss of a pet devastates some people for years, even decades. I know people, otherwise happy, who still mourn cats who were taken from them over 60 years ago. The original poster should offer a carefully supervised visitation for the child and the cat. Ops response. I do feel for the daughter. I don't know her age, but I certainly remember and miss my childhood cats. Including a kitten who passed away from genetic heart problems at only a few months old. It doesn't take long for some people to bond with a critter. Though I will say this cat in particular is what I would categorize as difficult. When I first took him in, he had serious problems with bite inhibition. He's the type who will accept a few pets and then violently lash out. He was also terrible with other cats. In my experience, he acts like a cat who was separated from his mother and littermates too young and missed out on crucial socialization. It took a lot of effort and training to get him to where he is today. I still can't pet him for more than a few minutes at a time, but now he'll tell me nicely when he's had enough. It also took me almost a full year to fully integrate him in with the other cats, and I still separate him if I have to go out. Point being, this isn't a cat I would personally allow around a kid. Part of the reason I'm so attached is because he was such a brat and needed so much work on so many levels. Not saying the daughter couldn't have been attached, but I think many people would struggle to bond with a cat who won't sit in laps or accept most interaction. I'd like to offer a visit, but right now I don't think the original owner knows exactly where I live, and I'd rather keep it that way. I worry he might try to steal the cat. Update 1 month later. I did not confirm the cat was the same animal, since I can't know for sure, but I did say if it was the same cat. I have now had him for longer than the original potential owner, 6 months versus almost 3 years. Due to this and the fact that he had no tag or chip and the owner never searched for him, I don't feel I have to return him. I have not contacted the man since, but he continues to message me at least once a week and is now threatening to take me to court. I have not replied. Is this something I need to worry about? Should I look into getting a lawyer? If he did try to sue for cat custody, would he have a case? Considering the timeline, it's likely the cat's leg was broken while in the care of the owner, and my vet is willing to testify to that. Would that increase the likelihood I would win if he tried to sue? I'm really not willing to give up this cat. I've paid over $5,000 getting him healthy, but more important than the money is the simple fact that I love the furry little jerk. I don't want him going back to a home that neglected him and let him roam without even the most basic care. I don't believe the man knows where I live. My social media was pretty locked down as far as personal info in the first place. I don't actually know how he found me though, and that makes me nervous. If he continues contacting me, is there anything I can do legally to discourage that? Second update 2 months later. On advice from the good people here, I blocked further messages. Yesterday I got a letter in the mail demanding return of the cat. Previously, they were only contacting me on social media, which did not have my home address or any identifying information. I don't know how they found out where I live, but I'm now very worried they might try to steal the cat. I have home security, and the cat is indoor only and chipped. I'd like to think the guy wouldn't be dumb enough to break and enter, but clearly he isn't firing on all cylinders to begin with. Should I file a police report? Can I even do that if they haven't broken any laws? The letter didn't contain any specific threats, just demands. Is there anything I can do legally to discourage further contact? Could a lawyer do something like a cease and desist letter? I have no idea why this dude wants the cat he wrote off as dead years ago back so damn badly, but Kitty is happy and healthy and sassy and not going anywhere. I don't want to spend my life afraid to run out to the store though, so any advice would be much appreciated. Third update 1 year later. Some LA posters thought it might have been a scam. I was skeptical because they hadn't asked for money, even after things had dragged on for a while. Well, I guess they were playing the long con, because I just got my first letter suggesting a few $100s might just assist the owner to move on from their loss. As a bonus, it was sent on letterhead from a non-existent lawyer's office. If I don't pay the cat fee, they plan to sue. My favorite part is that they don't specify for what, exactly. They're just going to sue. You know, like lawyers do. I'm still kinda worried they might try to steal Kitty and demand a ransom. Kitty is indoor only, chipped, and rarely left alone. On days I do have to work in office, I've been taking him in with me. But yeah, I'm thinking this is one of the weirder catfishing schemes on record. I tried to tell Kitty about his custody dispute, but he just yawned in my face and joined his big brothers for a celebratory afternoon nap. Though he did hack up a hairball on my pillow yesterday, paying someone else to take him is starting to look pretty tempting. Fourth update 5 months later. You all thought it over. So did I, but no. Turns out this story really could get weirder. Recap: years ago I took in an injured stray cat. The cat did not have a collar or chip. A good faith attempt was made to locate possible owners. After owning the cat for several years, I began receiving messages on social media from someone claiming to be the original owner. They demanded I return the cat, and I refused and blocked them. Eventually, they escalated to sending letters to my home on letterhead from a non-existent lawyer's office. The letters demanded I pay hundreds for the privilege of keeping the cat, or they would sue for what exactly was unspecified. At this point, it was clear this was a scam, albeit a bizarre one. Someone on the Bola thread suggested reporting the letters to the local bar association. I ignored the first two, but when they kept arriving, I went ahead and did so. I assume the bar association took some kind of action because the next letter I received was basically the scammer raging, "How dare you?" This was the first letter that contained an actual threat against my safety. So, to cut this already way too long story short, I filed a police report. After some additional letters, my cat now has a no-contact order. Okay, it's in my name, but we all know it's really for the cat. I will say the threats were of a more creative, less actionable sort, but I'm hopeful this will truly put an end to it. This is honestly the single dumbest thing I've ever gone through. My cat continues not to care. /relevant comments. Commenter. Is anyone else worried that a no-contact order won't be enough to stop all of this? I'm somewhat worried for Op's safety. This dude is seriously dedicated and knows where Op lives. I would still be on edge with a no-contact order because that won't stop crazy. Op's response. Yeah, trust me, I'm mostly making light to mask how thoroughly freaked out I am. Kitty is never left alone and even comes to work with me. My pen pal is clearly not all that stable. Still, I'm choosing to be hopeful because I haven't received anything since the no-contact order happened. This is my suspicion. It's well known we're a crazy cat family. Even though my social media is locked down, the scammer could be a friend of a friend or somehow heard about our reputation for fostering/adopting critters. If anyone is going to fork over cash to keep a cat, it would be me. So the scammer probably saw us as a good target. When the fake lawyer didn't work and the bar association got involved, the scammer got pissed that the scheme failed. Now that the cops are involved, they'll hopefully realize they've lost and it isn't worth it. The alternative is that they never expected to get money out of it and this entire thing was a bizarre prank. In which again they'll hopefully realize they've gone too far. Or the dude is just total nutballs. Up to another commenter. I work in wildlife rehab part-time and as a sales coordinator for a small company. The coordinator work I mostly do from home, but my boss is terrific and doesn't mind the cat coming along when I have to work in office. At the rehab, he hangs out downstairs in the office. It's actually been great for his socialization. When I first rescued him, he could be very reactive. I worked with him and got him to the point I could safely handle him, but he was still very much a one-person cat. At the rehab, he's constantly exposed to people who are experienced with much more aggressive animals. A hissing kitty is downright cute compared to a snarling raccoon. Now he'll snuggle with anyone and even cuddles with the office dog on occasion. So, in a very weird way, this whole thing has been a positive experience for him. I did, at the beginning, think it might be a prank, though I can't think of anyone in my life who would do such a thing. Like, I could maybe imagine a friend sending the very first message. At this point, though, I can't imagine anyone would take it this far and risk getting in trouble for making threats just as a joke. Commenter 2. What coder would the bar do about fake lawyer letterhead? Op's response. I'm not entirely sure. When I spoke to the association, the person I spoke with seemed amused and asked for the letters. They said they would look into it. From the context of the follow-up rant I received, I assume they contacted the scammer. I don't believe they did anything more than perhaps tell him to knock it off. He seemed just angry that I reported him at all. When I filed the police report, I was told the police weren't concerned with the fake letterhead. From what I understand, practicing law without a license is illegal, but just saying you are a lawyer is not. The letters were in a more gray area because they were an attempt to extort money, while perhaps not meeting the legal definition of extortion.